The wind cut through the empty main street like it remembered every scream that had ever echoed there. A single no trespassing sign swayed from a rusted post, its chain creaking against the silence. Daniel Cole tightened his jacket and raised his camera. The mining town of Grey Ditch, Nevada, hadn't seen a living soul in 40 years. At least that's what the old records said. But the online forums told a different story. They spoke of lights flickering deep underground, of voices carried on the desert wind, of people who went looking and never came back. He pressed record. Day 1. Abandoned mining settlement, Grey Ditch. Locals say the town died after the collapse of Shaft 12. 31 men buried alive. No recovery, but someone's been here. His flashlight beam stopped on something carved into a wooden post near the old saloon. Fresh letters, cut clean through the rot. Still here. Daniel's breath hitched. The carving was wet, the sap still glistening. Then came the sound. Not loud. Not even clear, just movement. Slow, deliberate beneath him. He crouched, pressing an ear to the cracked earth. A muffled knock echoed back 3 times. Knock, knock, knock. He stumbled backward, camera shaking. The sound followed, crawling closer beneath the dirt like something dragging itself upward. His radio hissed to life in his backpack. Daniel, you shouldn't have come. Static swallowed the voice. He froze. There was no one else within 20 miles. The wind stopped entirely. From somewhere below, a man began to whisper. We never left. A wide, desolate valley stretched beneath the morning sun, ashen hills, skeletal trees, and the husks of old mining shacks scattered like bones. The town of Grey Ditch was barely a smudge on any modern map. A forgotten pocket of the Nevada desert where dust clung to everything and even echoes seemed to die before reaching the horizon. Daniel Cole adjusted the camera strap digging into his neck. He had driven nearly 8 hours from Reno, guided only by half-legible maps and rumors from obscure paranormal boards. His YouTube channel, Forgotten Realms, was known for exploring ghost towns and lost places. But this one felt different. Even before he arrived, his GPS had glitched. The car's radio caught whispers between stations, and his phone battery drained in half an hour. Still, he came. Because Grey Ditch was the one story nobody else had dared to tell. The air tasted metallic, like the scent that lingers after a lightning strike. He passed through what remained of Main Street. One bar, a sheriff's office, a row of miner cabins collapsed under decades of neglect. He stopped outside a rusted metal door leaning off its hinges. The faded words read, Grey Ditch Mining So. Est in 1908, Daniel wiped away the grime from a window and peered inside. Shadows stretched long across a room filled with toppled chairs, broken ledgers, and a calendar frozen on April 12, 1979. The day the mine collapsed, his camera blinked red. Recording. Grey Ditch, Nevada. He narrated quietly. Population 0. But someone carved a message in the wood out there. It looked new. Maybe vandals, maybe... A faint clang cut through his words. Metal striking metal. Deep, rhythmic. It came from below. He froze, holding his breath. The sound stopped when he did. Could be wind, he muttered, though he didn't believe it. He backed away, stepping onto the dusty street again. The desert seemed to shift around him, the air heavier, the silence almost sentient. By noon, he'd set up camp near the edge of Shaft 12, the infamous mine entrance sealed after the disaster. Locals in the nearest town, 70 miles out, told him no one had opened it since. The shaft was supposedly cursed, a mouth to the underworld, one old man had said. Daniel had laughed at that. But now, standing at its mouth, the air dropping 20 degrees colder, he couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. He switched the camera back on. Entrance to Shaft 12. Official reports say 31 men were trapped. Some bodies never recovered. Locals claim they still knock from below. He waited, half expecting the same 3 knocks from before. Nothing came. Only the slow hum of wind funneling into the dark. He crouched and brushed dust off an old warning sign. Danger. Unstable structure. Below it, written in faded chalk. They're still digging. Daniel's chest tightened. He reached for his flashlight. A handprint, dark, greasy, fresh, marked the doorframe. Too clear to be decades old. He raised the camera, zoomed in. The fingers seemed long, too long. That's when the radio on his belt crackled again. Daniel, if you hear them, don't answer. He spun around. "Who is this?" No reply. Only a faint murmur like wind through a tunnel. He scanned the ridge line. Empty. The car sat 100 yards away, silent, its door swinging slightly open, though he swore he'd closed it. His breath fogged in the heat. "Okay," he whispered to himself. Old signals. Probably interference. Just interference. But something deep inside him, older than logic, quieter than fear, knew that wasn't true. As evening fell, the town changed. The sun dropped behind the hills, casting the buildings in bruised light. Daniel lit his lantern, setting it beside his tent. The desert, once vast and open, now felt suffocating. He rewatched the footage on his camera. In the background of his earlier recording, when he was standing by the mine, he saw movement. A shape, human-sized, standing in the darkness behind him. He paused, frame by frame. The figure didn't move, but its head, tilted slightly, reflected the light as if its eyes had caught the lens. He turned toward the mine entrance again. It was empty. For the first time, Daniel thought of leaving. He could pack up, drive back to the main road, post what little footage he had, and let the internet do the rest. But then came the whisper. Soft, female, from somewhere behind the saloon. "Help." "Me," he turned, flashlight trembling. The sound came again, this time closer. "Please." The light cut across the saloon's doorway. Nothing but peeling wallpaper and broken bottles. He stepped closer. "Who's there?" Silence. Then the floorboards creaked inside. Daniel's hand hovered over the doorknob. He hesitated. Every instinct screamed, "Don't." But curiosity was stronger. He pushed the door open. The lantern light spilled across the room, revealing an old piano in the corner, its keys yellowed and warped. He stepped closer. The air smelled like rust and rain. Then one key pressed down on its own. A single, trembling note. He froze. Another key. Then another. The piano played 3 low notes. Knock, knock, knock. Daniel stumbled back, knocking over a chair. His flashlight flickered and died. For a long moment, there was only his ragged breathing. Then a faint voice right behind him. "They're waiting for you." He spun, flashlight back on. Empty room. He ran out into the street, chest pounding, camera still rolling. The wind had returned, carrying faint whispers that seemed to circle the entire town. He reached the mine again, trembling, and aimed the camera into its mouth. If anyone finds this footage, Greatitch isn't empty. Something shifted in the darkness, cutting him off. A single beam of his flashlight illuminated a boot print in the dust ahead. Fresh, deep, then another, leading down into the mine. He swallowed hard, eyes wide. "I have to see," he whispered, and as the first step echoed into the hollow depths, the desert swallowed the last trace of daylight. The mine swallowed Daniel whole. The first few feet descended easily, loose gravel crunching under his boots, his flashlight cutting through a dense curtain of dust. The air smelled of iron and mildew. He could almost taste the years hanging there, heavy and undisturbed. Behind him, the desert wind died completely. Outside was gone. There was only the slow drip of water somewhere deeper in the dark. Daniel stopped to set his camera on a chest harness. The red light blinked, a small, stubborn pulse of life in the tomb-like tunnel. He spoke softly, his voice trembling despite himself. "Shaft 12. Entering the lower corridor. Temperatures dropping fast. It's like walking into a freezer. No sign of collapse yet." He panned the light across the walls. Pickaxe marks gouged into the stone decades ago, some deeper, fresher. He frowned. "That's not possible." The marks were clean, sharp, the dust still displaced as if someone had been digging recently. He moved deeper. The tunnel split in 2 directions, left leading downward, right leading to an old equipment room. He chose right. The room was half collapsed. Rusted helmets, broken lanterns, and something else. A row of lockers. Numbers painted on each in faded white. Most doors hung open, but one was shut tight. 27. He reached out, hand trembling. The metal was cold enough to sting. He tugged. It resisted. Tugged again. It creaked open an inch, and a burst of rancid air escaped. Inside, a miner's uniform still hung on a bent hook. A name tag barely visible. T. Alden. Daniel frowned. That name had appeared in the coroner's report. One of the men never recovered. He aimed the flashlight down. A boot still stood beneath the uniform, laces tied neatly. but no leg inside it. Jesus Christ. Something clattered behind him. He spun, flashlight shaking. A helmet had rolled from one of the shelves, stopping inches from his foot. The light inside flickered on, faint, sputtering like a dying firefly. That wasn't... The locker door slammed shut with a metallic snap. Daniel stumbled back, crashing against the wall. He gasped, heart hammering. For a moment, everything was still. Then a whisper, low and dry, brushed his ear. "Get back to work." He bolted from the room. The main shaft descended at an angle now, wooden beams creaking overhead. His footsteps echoed too loudly. Every sound seemed to come from everywhere. He recorded again, voice quieter this time. "There's something down here. Voices. They sound like they're inside the walls." His flashlight flickered. The camera caught brief glimpses, shadows that didn't match his movement, a figure leaning against a support beam, gone when he turned. He reached a junction where the tunnel widened into a chamber. In the center stood an old mining cart, half filled with rock. On the wall behind it, carved deep into the stone, were the words, "Not dead." His breathing quickened. He ran his hand along the carvings, edges sharp, flakes of dust fresh. Someone had made them after the collapse. Suddenly a faint glow appeared ahead, a lantern's light swaying gently in the dark. Daniel squinted. A silhouette moved behind the glow, slow and deliberate, like a man dragging a limp leg. "Hello?" he called. "Are you with the rescue team?" No answer. "I'm a journalist, Daniel Cole. I'm documenting this site." The light paused, then swung toward him. A voice floated back, rough and hollow. They said help was coming. Daniel took a step forward. "Who are you?" We kept digging. We never stopped. The lantern blinked out. Darkness slammed down like a wave. He turned wildly, flashlight shaking. Nothing. Only the echo of that broken voice fading into the tunnels. Minutes, or maybe hours, passed as he stumbled through twisting paths. His sense of direction dissolved. Every passage looked the same. The deeper he went, the louder the sounds became. Rhythmic, clanging, faint murmurs, something dragging across stone. He finally stopped at a small alcove where the tunnel opened into what looked like a break room. Rusted tables, metal mugs fused with rust, and a wall of photographs, faded, black and white portraits of the miners who once worked here. He brushed the dust from one. The face stared back, a man with hollow eyes and a crooked smile. The name, Thomas Alden. He turned to the next. The eyes were the same. Different names, same eyes. Each photo identical except for the hair. The angle, the era. Then, behind him, they took our faces so we could stay. He spun. Nobody there. But the photographs had changed. Every face now looked like his. He backed into the corridor, stumbling. His flashlight beam caught a shape, an old sign hanging from a rusted chain. Sublevel B, restricted access. The chain had been cut. Of course, he muttered, shaking. Because why wouldn't it be? He descended. The steps spiraled downward for what felt like miles. The air grew thick with humidity. The ground squished beneath his boots, mud, maybe water. Then the smell hit him, copper and rot. At the bottom, a vast cavern opened up. Wooden supports crisscrossed the ceiling, barely holding. Pools of stagnant water reflected his light like oil, and scattered through the chamber were dozens of helmets, each glowing faintly from within. They weren't lamps. They were skulls. Daniel's stomach turned. He staggered backward, covering his mouth. His camera kept rolling, the blinking red dot steady. Then, footsteps. Soft, steady, deliberate, he raised the light. A figure emerged from the far end of the cavern, a miner, or what used to be one. His skin was blackened with soot, his eyes glowing faint amber from within hollow sockets. "You shouldn't have come down," the man rasped. Daniel's voice cracked. "What are you?" The miner smiled, revealing broken teeth caked with dirt. "We're still on shift." The ground shuddered. From the pools around them, other figures began to rise. Half-buried bodies coated in mud and dust, moving stiffly as if their bones still remembered labor. Each carried a pickaxe. Daniel turned to run, but the path behind him had collapsed. The tunnel he came through was gone, replaced by a solid wall of stone. The miners began to dig, into the walls, into the floor, into the air itself. Every strike echoed like thunder. He screamed over the noise, "You're dead! The collapse killed you!" The lead miner tilted his head. "Dead? No, buried." He stepped closer. "And now you're one of us." Daniel stumbled backward, his boots sinking into soft earth. His light caught movement, dozens of hands reaching up from the ground, fingers clawing at his ankles. He kicked free, running toward a narrow tunnel on the side of the cavern. The camera jolted wildly, catching glimpses of faces, open mouths, glinting tools. He ducked into the tunnel, gasping for breath. The air buzzed with whispers. "Keep digging. Don't stop." He's still watching. He pressed himself against the wall, trembling. "They're hallucinations," he whispered. "Gas leak, oxygen deprivation, that's all." A voice answered right beside his ear. "Then why are we breathing too?" He screamed, swung the flashlight, and the beam passed through nothing. He ran again, deeper into the maze of tunnels until his legs burned. Finally, he collapsed beside a collapsed elevator shaft. The metal cage hung halfway down, cables twisted. He climbed inside, slammed the gate shut, and turned off his light. Only the faint glow of the camera remained. Minutes passed. His breathing slowed, then footsteps on the metal above him. Slow, scraping. He looked up. Dust fell from the ceiling. A voice drifted down. "We remember the foreman. He sealed us in." Daniel's heartbeat thundered. "I'm not him." He said that too. A shape leaned over the edge, a head with hollow eyes, face obscured by a miner's mask. The mask looked old, but the name carved into it was fresh, D. Cole. He stared in disbelief. "That's my name." The miner smiled behind the mask. "You were always down here." The cable above groaned. The elevator jerked violently, then dropped an inch before catching. He scrambled for the controls. Rusted, dead. The voice continued calm and steady. "We never left the shift. We only forget between digs." The elevator shook again. "Stop," he shouted. "Please, what do you want?" "Relief." The cable snapped. The fall should have killed him. Instead, he woke in silence, lying on cold stone. His camera, miraculously unbroken, still recorded. Angle tilted toward him. He groaned, sitting up. His flashlight flickered back to life. He wasn't in the elevator anymore. He was in a narrow tunnel lined with new timber supports, fresh wood not rotted. The air was warmer. There was light ahead. He crawled toward it. The tunnel opened into a massive cavern, bright, bustling, alive. Dozens of miners moved around him, swinging pickaxes, shoveling carts, laughing. The sound of life filled the air, but something was wrong. Their movements were too slow, too precise, like a reel of film replaying the same loop. And when he called out, no one looked at him. He approached one man, tapping his shoulder. The miner turned, and Daniel saw his face peel away like ash, revealing a hollow mask beneath. "End of shift yet?" The man rasped. Daniel stumbled back. The laughter stopped. Every miner turned toward him in unison. The sound of pickaxes dropped to silence. "You came to tell our story," said the lead miner, the same one from before. "Now you'll remember it forever," Daniel's voice cracked. "No, I just wanted proof. I just wanted people to know what happened." The miner stepped closer until the glow from his eyes reflected off Daniel's lens. "They'll know. Through you." Hands grabbed Daniel's arms, his shoulders. He screamed, struggling, but the hands were countless. They dragged him toward the wall. The stone pulsed faintly like living flesh. "No. Let me go." The miner's voice was almost tender. "We all said that once." The wall swallowed him whole. Darkness again. He didn't know how long he was trapped. Hours, days, or seconds. It all blurred into a rhythm. The rhythmic clang of metal on stone echoed through his head. His hands bled from gripping the pickaxe, but he couldn't stop. He was digging, always digging, and sometimes between the echoes. He heard faint voices from above, people exploring, cameras clicking, laughter. He tried to scream for help, but his throat only produced dust. Then a whisper came from the dark beside him. "Shift's not over yet." Daniel's hands ached. His nails were blackened, split, bleeding into the dust he clawed through. The rhythm of the mine pulsed in his skull, clang, 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 like a heartbeat not his own. Every tunnel he had memorized, every step he thought he could retrace, had shifted. The walls bent slightly toward him, narrowing until he was scraping his shoulders against cold stone. He stopped, chest heaving. I can't. His voice echoed back at him, distorted, as if the mine itself were mocking his panic. He tried to focus on the camera strapped to his chest. The red light still blinked. It was proof he was real. Proof he still existed. But then came the whispers, countless, layered. soft as dust in his ears. "You always belonged here. We never left. Don't stop digging." Daniel spun, swinging the flashlight. Shadows twisted. Figures emerged from the walls, the floor, the ceiling, always just at the edge of his vision. He tried to shout, but the words caught in his throat. His own voice sounded alien. "Stop. Just stop." The echoes swallowed him. Time lost meaning. Seconds became hours, or perhaps the reverse. He passed the same collapsed corridor twice, 3 times. Every landmark repeated, slightly altered. Each time he looked, the walls were closer, the ceiling lower. The mine had grown, or he had shrunk. He stumbled into a chamber where the miners' tools lay in neat rows: pickaxes, lanterns, helmets. Everything was immaculate, polished, impossible. The helmets glowed faintly, their eye sockets reflecting his flashlight. He realized the glow was not inside them, but coming from himself. His reflection, or the illusion of it, was in the polished metal. His face elongated, warped. His eyes were empty holes. "No, that's not me." A hand touched his shoulder. He spun. Nothing. Only a shaft of light from his flashlight, quivering. But the pressure remained, like the hand was still there, warm, insistent, pulling him downward. He continued. Each step echoed in his chest like a drum beat, every tunnel identical, every corner hiding the same shadows. He could feel them moving behind him, crawling, whispering, patient. His lungs burned, his throat raw. Sweat and blood mingled on his face. A voice, his own, yet not called from the darkness. "You've been here before. You always have been." He froze. That voice, that accent, the hesitation, the fear, it was his. The tunnel shifted again. A wall that had been solid a moment ago was now an archway. Through it, he saw the desert above, sunlight, freedom. He sprinted toward it, but as he ran, the wall of stone and timber rose behind him faster than he could move. The exit receded. His chest heaved. The voice followed him. "No one leaves the shift." Daniel collapsed, gripping his knees. He closed his eyes. He tried to remember being outside, the road, the wind. But memories twisted. Faces from photographs he had seen earlier, the miners, were his own. His mother, his father, himself at age 10. The floor beneath him rumbled. The mine was alive, breathing, mocking. He forced himself to his feet, taking careful steps toward a faint glow. The light pulsed in time with the clanging in his head. The whispers grew louder, chaotic, overlapping. "Dig, work, remember. You belong here. We are you." Then he saw them. Not spirits, not shadows, not hallucinations, but reflections of himself, moving independently, swinging pickaxes, dragging carts, smirking with hollow eyes. Each clone identical yet subtly wrong, grins too wide, fingers too long, eyes too bright. They mirrored every fear he had ever had about himself. Daniel screamed, backing into a corner. Every tunnel he could flee into twisted into another identical chamber. Each reflected figure stepped closer. The whispers coalesced into a chant. "The foreman will join the shift. The foreman will join the shift. The foreman will join the shift." He tried to climb, tried to ascend, but the walls were endless. The ceiling pressed down, narrowing, the dust churning in a thick fog. His own body felt heavy. His arms ached from swinging the pickaxe he had grabbed from one of the clones. "I'm not..." The words broke into a scream. The clones advanced. One reached out with his own hands, Daniel's hands, cold and solid. He felt the grip, felt the pressure, felt himself being pulled toward the wall. He struggled, kicking, screaming, but it was useless. The clone smiled as he was forced forward. "We are you. We are always you." The wall ahead of him pulsed. The stone seemed to breathe, to open, to consume. Dust rose like smoke. A faint metallic smell filled his nose. The light in the helmets brightened, blinding him. The red glow of his camera became the only constant, the only anchor to reality, but even it began to warp, flashing frames of himself digging, screaming, and collapsing over and over. Daniel's mind shattered. He tried to remember the desert, the sun, the car, the real world. But the mind twisted them, folded them back into itself. The tunnels replayed endlessly. Every corridor led to the same chamber, the same figures, the same whispers. He screamed, "I'm me! I'm me! I'm Daniel!" The voices mocked him, chanting, "You were always here. You are the foreman now. You dig, you remember. You belong." He swung the pickaxe one final time at a figure himself, but the strike passed through air. No impact. Only pain in his hands, blood trickling down, indistinguishable from the dirt. He sank to his knees. The wall before him glowed bright red, the light reflecting off the helmets. The clones crowded around. Each held his gaze, each whispered the same. "Shift's not over." Daniel's vision swam. Sound and shadow blurred. The clangs and whispers fused into a single pulse, hammering inside his skull. His body shook. His mind shook. "I can't leave." The clones leaned closer, faces now impossibly close, teeth grinning. Every word he had spoken in life echoed around him, twisted into chants. Dig, work, remember, join, belong. The floor beneath him softened. He felt himself sink slowly into the mine itself, into the dust, into the stone. The walls curved, swallowing him. The pickaxe slipped from his fingers. His hands disappeared into the ground. The camera fell to the floor, still recording, red light blinking, catching fleeting glimpses of movement, shadow, himself. The last thing Daniel heard before silence. "The foreman is always here." The foreman never leaves. Time ended. There was no up, no down, no day, no night. Just the rhythmic pulse of the mine, clang, whisper, pulse, and Daniel, forever digging, forever remembering, forever becoming the story he had come to tell. No escape, no rescue, only the mine, patient, infinite, and inevitable. The desert was quiet. No wind stirred the cracked streets of Greyditch. The sun hung low, bleeding orange across the skeletal remains of the town. Dust drifted in shafts of light like ghostly motes suspended in the air. No birds sang, no coyotes howled. Only the memory of Daniel Cole lingered, though no one would ever find him except, perhaps, in the recording he left behind. The abandoned mining town looked ordinary now, as though decades of horror had never occurred. But the subtle signs remained, a door slightly ajar that had been firmly shut, shadows that stretched too long, whispers carried on the wind if you dared to listen. Weeks later, a team from a local historical society arrived. They had heard rumors from the old forums, tales of a vlogger who disappeared while investigating Greyditch. Their intent was scholarly, to document, photograph, preserve. The town looked abandoned. Broken windows reflected their flashlights. Rusted signs clung to posts. Empty cans littered the street. It was the Greyditch everyone expected. One of the researchers found a camera lying in the dirt near Shaft 12. The lens was cracked, but the red recording light still blinked. "Must be recent," one muttered. They played the footage on a portable monitor. Static flickered. Then Daniel's face appeared. Eyes wide, sweat and blood smeared across his skin, breathing ragged. "If anyone finds this footage, Greyditch isn't empty." The frame wavered. Shadows danced behind him. Shapes moved in the corners, half seen, impossible. The feed cut, then returned to him staring directly into the camera, lips trembling. We're still digging. You'll always know." The screen blinked to static again. When the researchers looked up, the air was still. Too still. One of them shivered. Night fell fast in the desert. The team set up tents near the shaft, unaware of how close the unseen eyes were. Around the fire, they speculated on the mine's history, trying to rationalize Daniel's disappearance. "Old mines are dangerous," one said. "Collapsed shafts, bad ventilation, toxic gases. He probably got trapped." "Yeah," another nodded, uneasy. "But look at the footage. He wasn't alone. There's something in there. Something alive," the wind whispered over the canyon rim. It carried faint sounds, low and rhythmic. Clang, whisper, pulse. A sound that mimicked breathing. The team froze, listening. No one spoke after that. Inside Shaft 12, Daniel existed differently now. He was no longer the man who had walked into the mine. Time had no meaning. The walls remembered his every step. The mine whispered his name. Every echo, every flicker of light reinforced a single, inevitable truth. He belonged there. Above, the desert remained serene, innocent to the casual observer. Yet anyone who wandered too close would feel it. A weight in the air, a tug on the mind, a subtle, unshakable feeling that someone or something was watching. The researchers didn't stay long. They recorded what they could and left before dark. That night, the town returned to silence. But in the smallest shadows, movement lingered. Tiny shifts in dust, the faintest scrape of metal against stone, the echo of a pickaxe striking rock deep below the surface. Daniel's camera remained behind, a silent witness. It blinked red under the pale moonlight, recording nothing and everything at once. Months later, the footage leaked online. Viewers across the country watched Daniel's final moments. Comments poured in, some skeptical, some terrified. Those who had never believed the forums now wondered if Grey Ditch was truly abandoned. But for those who knew the truth, the terror was deeper. They understood that Daniel's disappearance was not just a tragedy, it was an induction. The mine was patient, selective, inevitable. It waited for those who sought it out, slowly pulling them into the rhythm of its work, folding their identities into its walls. Inside the mine, Daniel dug. He had no concept of days or nights. The walls pressed against him. The earth shifted, breathing. The rhythmic clang, whisper, pulse kept him moving, deeper into himself and deeper into the mine's memory. Sometimes, between the echoes, he glimpsed shadows, figures he recognized as the men who had been trapped decades ago. Their faces were long gone, replaced by hollow masks, but in the eyes, he saw fragments of himself. Every fear, every regret, every hesitation he had ever held reflected back at him. "You are the foreman now," a voice whispered. "You dig, you remember?" He swung his pickaxe, striking rock, dirt, and phantom limbs alike. The pain was real, the fatigue unbearable, but the compulsion relentless. The mind would not allow hesitation. He was part of its memory now. The shift was eternal. Occasionally, he thought of escape. A door, a tunnel, the desert sun. But each time, the paths twisted. What he remembered became the mind's recollection. He remembered incorrectly. He forgot his own name. He could no longer recall the car, the road, or the wind on his face. Every time he tried to scream, his voice echoed back altered. "You belong here." Outside, Grey Ditch remained unchanging. Tourists avoided it. Researchers documented it. Few entered, fewer returned. Locals spoke of the shift in hushed tones, warning curious souls to stay away. Those who came close felt uneasy. The air felt heavier. Their shadows stretched too long. They imagined movement in the corners of their eyes, whispers carried on the wind. And sometimes, if they listened carefully, the faint rhythmic sound of metal against stone would reach them. Clang, whisper, pulse. They told themselves it was the wind, the desert, or their imagination. But the truth remained. Deep beneath shaft 12, Daniel continued digging. The walls conformed to his memories. The tunnels obeyed the rhythm of his pulse. His identity, once distinct and stubborn, had dissolved into the mine itself. He was foreman, miner, memory, dust, and echo. He remembered fragments of his former life only to forget them again. The camera sometimes captured glimpses of him, sometimes a full figure, sometimes only shadows or a hand reaching from the earth. He would continue forever, digging, remembering, becoming the story of Grey Ditch. And on rare nights, when the moon hung low or the wind shifted across the desert ridges, the town whispered to the living, "We never left. You will join the shift. You belong here." The air thickened. Dust swirled without reason. And if one were brave or foolish enough to venture near shaft 12, they could hear it faintly, the sound of pickaxes striking rock, the echo of breathing, and a voice, low, patient, inevitable, calling a name that no one alive remembered. But that belonged to someone who would never leave. Daniel Cole. The mine waited. The shift continued. The work never ended. And Grey Ditch, though silent and empty to the world above, had claimed yet another soul.